first, because I've been live for well over an hour plus, I'm going to take a sip of water.
Take your time to do that. I've literally been talking 5 hours straight yesterday and today because at UFI we had our leadership sessions. So the executive committee was in session yesterday, and the board was in session today. So I have a very good president this year who did some of the talking, but you just end up with such a sore throat. So I'm so happy to talk for a minute or two to give you a chance to catch your breath and have a sip of water.
Well, thank you. I know you're very, very busy right now. So where we are, you know, Doug is on his second 5K. He is, you know, joined in person, you know, with, you know, several people like Simon Kimball and Trevor Foley, you know, and such. And then Tom Mitchell's actually running, you know, this like remotely, you know, along with him. We've raised well over $27,000 so far, which is, I know, which is so great because, you know.
So what do we do for the rest of the day? Come on, the target was 24.
So our goal was 24,000, which was meant to represent like 1,000 for every, you know, 20. And when we said that, we were like, Doug was like, oh gosh, you know, what do you think? Should we just go for it? And we were like, yeah, why not? So we've shot past that. So now our new goal is 34,000. So if anybody's, you know, listening in and, you know, can go to the GoFundMe page and go ahead and donate. I have people, you know, in the chat who are posting, you know, the donate link, and it's just really going well. Everybody's very, very excited. So Kai, I would like to introduce Kai Hattendorf. We just started talking, assuming everybody knows who you are, like I do. Kai is the CEO and Managing Director of UFI, the Global Association for the Exhibition Industry. So Kai, why don't you first tell us just a little bit about yourself? How long have you been, you know, with UFI? What does UFI do?
Oh, well, I've been with UFI for 5 years in a pandemic. I joined UFI in 2015, taking over from Paul Woodward, and that was after, I think, 8 years in the industry at Messe Frankfurt. And I mean, originally we're both journalists, right? So I'm a trained business journalist, worked for the Beep, and I worked for the Voice of America in DC actually for a while. And ended up in this wonderful industry when I was headhunted from the telecoms industry to Messe Frankfurt in the 1990s. Little less gray and a little faster on my 5Ks back then. What UFI is the Global Association for the Exhibition Industry, as you already said. So our membership are the companies that organize. So everyone you had, like Ave is a member, David's a member, hopefully with the company, but also with CISO. So the companies organizing, the owners and operators of the venues around the world, and selected service providers, the Freemans and GESs of the world. And as we are the Global Trade Association for the industry, also all these kind of national and international exhibition industry associations like CISO in the US, like the AO in the UK, and AEB and ESA, like AUMA in Germany, SACIOS from Singapore, etc. They're all members of UFI as well. And so there's a lot of opportunity to connect the dots, especially around advocacy and collaboration as we make our way through the pandemic. When we don't happen to be in a pandemic, we support the industry, run events for the industry, provide research, education, everything you expect a trade association to do.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that. I'm going to backtrack a little bit, you know, just to kind of set the stage of, you know, why you know, besides, you know, to talk about UFI, and we're going to go into a little bit about the international state of the industry a little bit later in our time together today. But we're representing 3 charities, you know, that will receive the funds from today. One is EventWell, which we spoke to them earlier, and they help, you know, for mental health with people in the events industry and based out of the UK. Also, the Meetings Industry Fund, you know, which is based here in the US and helps people in need, you know, that have any need, whether it be, you know, help with a medical bill or, you know, help with rent, whatever the case may be. And then also, we are going to be donating, you know, some of the proceeds to the Indian Red Cross Society, and we're going to be doing that on behalf of Bala. You know, Bala, you know, it was the head of the Indian Exhibition Industry Association, and sadly passed away, you know, suddenly from COVID in May. So can you please tell us a little bit about Bala?
It always makes me cry still when I hear that he's no longer with us. Now Bala I think the best way to describe it was something I read from a dear colleague when some hours after we learned of his passing. I said like this his heart for the industry and his passion for the industry were only matched by his heart for friends and family. He's truly been one of the kindest, most generous and friendliest colleagues we've had around the world, and it's so difficult and hard to say we have had, because in so many ways, talking about Bala brings back a lot of memories of wonderful meetings, great exchanges, the smile on his face, and the energy around him. And I'm so gracious that I'm so happy to hear that parts of the proceeds will go to the Indian Red Cross, because besides being a great colleague, he's been the COO of Anbu Varatan, who is our current UFI president, and so I'm very close to the situation and the huge gaping hole his absence has created in the industry. And one of the things that we tried to facilitate from the side, from the UFI side after Bala's passing, was to try to support Anbu and the colleagues in Bangalore to find a solution that is very, very imminent. Remember, at that time, the biggest topic was the absence of oxygen in the hospitals, or the oxygen cylinders, and so rather than facilitating more airlifts of oxygen cylinders, what Anbu set out to do, and working with the Red Cross on that, and in some capacity already, was to try to locate those companies that produce mobile facilities to produce oxygen on site, to then put these mobile facilities into the hospitals, so they can produce the oxygen right where it's needed to take care of those who are suffering from COVID. And we reached out to many of the organizers who run shows for medical equipment or special machinery shows, and we were indeed able to source some producers that we connected back to Anbu, and they are now sourcing these machines to be put up right in the hospitals across the region. And that's one way we can activate the network we have and our customer base, because this is not about asking for a donation, this is simply asking for a supplier to provide something, able to airlift it. And I asked Ambo, what other channels are there that can benefit the struggle against COVID that India has been fighting with, or that has been coping with. And he said the Indian Red Cross definitely is the one association to support. And so every time we now talk about India, it's all with Bala on our mind as one of the big motivators to give back to an industry and to colleagues in the country that is right now suffering from a huge outbreak.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, for being here, to be able to talk about, Bala, and, we, obviously we'll be connecting back with you, to Ambu, to make sure, these funds, go, correctly into the Indian, Red Cross, and, help the people of India, in whatever way we can in Bala's honor. It's I know that they've been grappling with a terrible, surge, there, and hoping that they've got a handle on it now, and things can start to kind of calm down there. So for the rest of the world, well, first of all, how do you not an exact number, but I know you have a lot of members, UFI members that are in India, correct? Besides Bala, what types of organizations in India are part of UFI? Well,
all the subsidiaries in India of the internationals, in former India, Mesofanguid India, REITs activities in India, etc. So they're all into the global networks, plus a lot of the local and national and regional players. The venues in Bangalore, venues in Mumbai, high-techs in Hyderabad. And we're working really, really closely with the IEIA, which is the Indian Association of the exhibition industry, that was actually set up 12 years back with the active support of UFI when it came to the statutes and regulations. And one of the founding board members there, Ravinder Sethi, who has been serving on the UFI executive committee for many years. So there's a really, really long-lasting close collaboration. And we've actually had fair number of association meetings in India, like taking the top leadership, the executive committee to India in 2018, I think, or 2019. In 2018 it was, to look at the, to drive the international advocacy towards the Indian government to make more venue space available so that our industry can grow in that market.
Right, and then obviously you have members, worldwide. How many members are there in UFI now?
I just reported that to the board 2 hours ago, so I can. 802 companies representing, I think, 54,000 full-time employees right now.
Wow, that's incredible.
I think it's 85 countries, depending how you count the countries.
85, okay, 85 countries. So this week? When does your European conference start? I lost a little bit track, with this event, but I think that's tomorrow.
We're doing a regional conference every couple of days now. Now tomorrow and on Thursday, afternoon European time, for 4 hours each, we're running our European conference, which would of course normally be an in-person event, and we wanted to go to Poznan because they're celebrating their 125th anniversary this year. We'll be there at the very end of the anniversary next year in spring, but we have to run the event digitally as borders haven't reopened on time for everybody to move around freely. So 2 days of programming. If you want to join, here comes the pitch. It's ufieurope.org. We priced it really low for €100 for everyone to get in, and it will actually feature Doug and Simon on M&A, Simon Kimball, on Thursday afternoon, and bunch of other really senior industry people, but just as well people from outside of the industry, and roundtable discussions on the reopening right across Europe. And as it's organized by Nick, who I know you know as well, there's a lot of fun elements as well, including the world's first foot volley digital live online competition thingy. So we will have 8 European destinations battling it out for the UFI Europe Foot Volley Cup.
Wow! Yeah, I saw a post on LinkedIn. He looked like he was doing some kind of music event. Where was that? Was it Stonehenge?
No, he went. They had a few days off last week, so he actually drove past Stonehenge, and I don't know if he shot something there. He hasn't shared it with the whole team.
I was trying to figure out what he was doing.
There may be some Stonehenge involved in the European conference. But what I know is we have the Stradivarians, which is a group of classical musicians, and obviously one of them playing a Stradivari, from 1684, one of those rare violins. And we had this musician closing us off at the Global Congress that we produced digitally as well last year. So he was standing all alone in one of the huge exhibition halls at Excel London, and he was performing for the audience of the UFI Congress. And the sound and the impression was just amazing. And everybody was so taken by that we brought them back. So they will open us. They closed the Congress and they will open the European event tomorrow.
Great. Well, representing, the association that you do, I just, had, as I said, the advocacy panel was on, and, Roger Dow and, Hervé and David and Tommy were talking about the challenges with international travel, particularly international travel here into the US and the impact on the trade show industry. But you're clearly seeing it, all over the place. Can you kind of touch on, I don't know, what's the easiest way, maybe first international travel into the US?
International travel in the US will depend on the US opening its borders to non-US people, not just with special permits, like I benefited from when I went to CISO. There were many hoops to jump through to get there. I think we're close to that reopening. I know Roger thinks we're close to it too. I mean, your president's coming to Europe this week for the G7, and what Europe has done to make it easy for you, Rachel, to come back to see us here, and for David to take his holiday in France later this summer, is to say, if you're fully vaccinated with a vaccine that is approved by the WHO, by the World Health Organization, and that covers Pfizer just as well as it covers the Chinese vaccines, as well as it covers AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson, etc. If the vaccine you have is on that list and you're fully vaccinated, welcome to Europe. the airline may demand a PCR test, and if there's an outbreak of the Delta or Gamma or whatever variant, local regulations may be tighter. But generally, throwing the borders of Europe open again to the world to say, if you've been vaccinated, you're welcome. If you've not been vaccinated and you've been duly tested, welcome. So Europe will be open to the US, and it's certainly Europe's hope that this will see a similar move from the US to reopen North America to Europeans and Asians. Because, of course, I would have wanted to be one of those people filing pictures from planes on our way to Vegas to be at World of Concrete. I heard you touching on that a little earlier. So I saw Danica on the plane, I saw David on the plane, I saw everybody on the plane. Yeah. And here I'm stuck in my home office in Bonn. But I will go to Paris next week.
Oh, well, good for you. Good for you. I'm sure some people wouldn't mind going to Paris, Kai. Actually, just to catch everybody up, if anybody's jumping into the broadcast now, we were live with Danica Tourmalin, before we did the ribbon cutting, Kai, with her. We heard of the Las Vegas Convention Center West Hall, the big brand new West Hall, and the opening of World of Concrete. World of Concrete is now officially open, and probably packed with people full. It was so exciting to see it all in action. And then I guess, there was the governor, of Nevada, spoke, Charlie McCurdy, who of course runs Informa Exhibitions, spoke, Nan Walsh, who runs as the president of North America, spoke. We'll be going back to Danica at the top of the hour. We're going to be talking to some Las Vegas, stakeholders there with her live, at the World of Concrete show. And about 5 minutes before the end of this hour, we're going to be popping back on, with Doug and who he has on site there, for his third 5K. And right now we're at $27,000 and $27,232. So everybody, please, keep on donating. We really, really appreciate it. The last one came on from Neha Argawal. Thank you, Neha. We really appreciate your donation. And I'm just going to do a very quick sponsor shout out, Kai, and come back to you in a second as well. Because Kai, you run events, and we could not do these events without the sponsors. Wouldn't happen. We would not be on this platform without SwapCard. SwapCard donated this platform to us. Obviously, it's an incredibly robust, platform, for online events, and we're very grateful to SwapCard. Their whole team was absolutely fantastic to work with, because I am not a tech person, and here I am. And Melissa Uwe and her team from ASP made this beautiful website, and everybody was on there, initially, and hopefully we'll continue to be on there to see updates, when the event's over. And we thank them. Our other big sponsors, Charterhouse Capital Partners, their own Tarsus Group, they gave a tremendous, a very generous donation. We're very grateful for that. Clarion Events, was sponsored. Diversified Communications, Emerald, Freeman, GES, Raccoon Events, Mike Seaman and his team are all on site. This is actually being run out of Guildford, in the UK. That's where the Raccoon office is. Mike is running. Many of his employees are also running, helping Doug out, particularly overnight. CISO obviously is a sponsor, and Tarsus, and we've had your tremendous support as well. Thank you very much, for helping. So we have a couple more minutes here. As far as going forward on international, we've heard about coming into the US. Where are we at in Europe with the reopening of events?
We are getting there. The European Commission, which is that kind of block of these 27 countries since the UK decided to leave, have essentially agreed on opening the borders for the whole block to issue a kind of standardized travel certificate, which will be a digital one. I actually just read that I can take my paper vaccination proof next week to my local pharmacy and have it kind of digitized into that new digital system. And this digital certificate will act as a kind of proof of vaccination or proof of testing or proof that you had COVID and recovered from it. And this will open essentially all the doors to all the borders across Europe. So, ever since that was announced, there's been a wave of reopenings in the trade show industry with Italy, France, Spain, Portugal, the UK, Russia never really closed, Germany will reopen. And everybody is now, as the infection numbers are going down and that security of travel goes up, everybody is gearing up for a busy season, beginning with some trial and test events and regional events across the continent in July and August. And then the big events coming up from on September again. The International Motor Show that moved from Frankfurt to Munich will be held in Munich. The book fair in Frankfurt, which is the world's largest book fair, in October. A bunch of shows by the German messes. We're all watching out for the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, late in June, and fingers crossed to John Hoffman and team that all goes well. We've already seen FITUR, a large tourism industry show for the Spanish-speaking part of the world, taking place successfully in Madrid. So, yeah, we're coming back, and it's about time. We can't wait.
Yeah, and I know, Tarsus Group has a lot of shows in China, and, so this COVID experience has been interesting from that viewpoint because, Doug will always say there was this day in January when it started, within our company, and the shows were shut down over there, and then they were back by July and running. Other areas, of Southeast Asia, not as much, as Dubai is reopened. You all were recently there, obviously, and other.
You ran an event there. I can confirm that you can run events safely and soundly in Dubai. Yeah. And with great participation, and you can fly from the US because we had David came over, Aaron Bloodworth came over to be with us in Dubai.
Yeah, and he said it was pretty seamless. I mean, there was a couple, hoops to jump through, but they just started reopening those channels, so that's going to be normal, I think, until they smooth things out. So. Are there, as far as any audience that may be watching, is there anything, that they could be doing, to advocate, on behalf of, getting, international travel open, to other places coming into the U.S.? Should they be doing any reach out, do you think?
Well, I can echo what Tommy said in the panel before, because we all aligned on the messaging well before Global Exhibitions Day and the Legislative Action Day in the US last week. Every voice matters and every message to decision makers matters. Now, we are the ECA in Washington is kind of the twin brother or sister of something called the EEIA in Brussels that we set up years ago with our friends from AMECA from the venue side, which is run by Barbara Weizsäcker. And after some years of knocking on the doors alongside the corridors of powers in Brussels, we've been heard. And every one of these conversations about the need to reopen travel, to drive business events, and the critical role of business events to not just bring our sector back, but by helping our sector, enabling us to help every sector and every industry to bounce back. This message is being heard, and the more often we say it, the more it is being heard. What we have succeeded by staying on message all through COVID is that from the side of UFI, we are now suddenly talking to national ministers, right? Together with the national associations. I sat down with the Secretary of State for Tourism in Portugal, who are currently holding the EU presidency, and I'm scheduled to have a conversation with the Commerce Minister of Hong Kong. So all these conversations help to raise the level of visibility and the level of noise from my neighbor, help to raise the level of visibility for our industry and to get our point across. And arguably, we haven't done such a great job on that in the 10 years before the pandemic, because we said we're better off on our own. This was a misjudgment, and we need to get our act together, and we've got our act together going forward.